Hey, welcome to the Because Business is Personal podcast, the podcast where empathy meets marketing strategy. I'm your host, Mike Caldwell, but I'm also known as the Marketing Medic. Now, the reason for that is because before becoming a marketing strategist, I actually worked as a paramedic for 12 years. And it was during that time that I realized how important it was to truly understand the problems your patient was facing before you started providing treatment. And it's this same understanding, this same empathy is just as crucial when it comes to understanding our prospects and making sales. And that's why in each episode, we'll dissect the art of empathic marketing, exploring how top professionals infuse empathy into their strategies to build stronger relationships, boost their sales, and make a lasting impact. So buckle up and prepare to turn up the dial on your marketing effectiveness. As we gear up to dive deeper into the realm of empathic marketing, I'd like to share a couple of special offers with you. First, you can get a free copy of my international best-selling book, Empathic Marketing. You only need to cover the cost of shipping. Reading this will provide you with a much more in-depth understanding of the empathy-based marketing approach that we explore in this show. Next, I'm offering a 50% discount on a transformative 30-minute gap analysis session with me. During the session, we'll identify the hurdles in your marketing efforts, and together we'll develop an actionable roadmap aimed at winning you more clients and making you more sales. Just visit my website, www.becausebusinessispersonal.com to grab your book, or use coupon code PODCAST to take advantage of my gap analysis offer. So why wait? Let's start turbocharging your marketing strategy today. Now, let's get started with our episode. Hey, welcome everybody to my first Because Business is Personal podcast. And joining me today is Shane Johnston. So welcome, Shane.
Hey, Mike. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be your first.
Bet you
haven't heard those words for a long time, right? It's been many years.
So I thought a good way to start, like all of my podcasts, would be to share a couple of jokes just to get some lightness and some levity. So I've got a couple of zingers for you. Are you ready?
Oh yeah, I love, me. Hey, wait a minute. Are we allowed to do some kind of like, not off color, but sexual innuendo stuff?
Sure.
Like, that's what she said kind of stuff. I mean, I know you have that sense of humor, and so do I. So
yeah. So those are the best. Okay, so mine is kind of along those lines. What's brown and sticky?
Oh, I don't want to know. What?
A stick.
Oh, geez. That's what you were hoping for, the response, all right? Oh, geez.
Exactly.
Those kind of jokes.
Yeah. What do you got?
Those are the best dad jokes, though, right?
Exactly.
Well, I listen every once in a while to this, not a podcast, but I don't know, I probably hear it on TikTok or Reels or something like that as I'm scrolling through. But it's called We Got the Chocolates. Have you ever heard that one?
No.
It's a bunch of Australian, I don't know if they're comedians or what they are, but they're funny as hell. And they have this little sort of a contest where they do these one-liner dad joke kind of stuff. And they have to try and make each other laugh.
Okay.
And so the camera's on both of them. And they're like, you can see sometimes they're just like holding it back. Anyway, so I checked that out. And I have to admit, I stole a couple of their jokes. So here's one that got a pretty good laugh on their thing. So what does a robot do after he has sex?
Oh, I don't know.
He nuts and bolts. Okay, that's what she said joke. I got a clean one for you too.
Okay.
So I went to the zoo the other day and all I saw was a dog. It was a Shih Tzu.
Oh, it took me a second.
That's a groaner. I know.
That was a cringeworthy joke. All right. Okay, so we both have warped sense of humors.
Yes. We've established that.
All right. So now this is Because Business is Personal. So let's get to know you personally a little bit. Mm-hmm. So like imagine you didn't have to work. Okay. You didn't have to work and you weren't allowed to work. Mm-hmm. What would you do with your time?
Oh, wow. I have lots of hobbies and I love not working. And I also love putting, fun things into work. So I like to mix that up. But wow, I would do so many things. I have lots of things that I love. I love to mountain bike. I love to be out on the trails. Anywhere where there is forest and lake is my happy place, where there's peace and quiet. So I probably spend a lot of time there. Um, I like to garden. I know it's kind of cliche. I'm an old Gen X slash almost boomer, so I'm older Gen X. And yeah, I love the garden. I got lots of veggies growing in my garden already. We've already been eating veggies out of the garden for a couple of weeks.
Oh wow, you've harvested already. Because so
Oh
for
yeah.
those people who are listening, we're in Canada and it's May here, so not a lot of
Mhm.
stuff has had the chance to grow outside yet.
Yeah, like our last frost date was basically this weekend, the May long weekend,
Right.
May 2-4 weekend, we call it in Canada.
Yeah.
And so I had stuff planted out there for, I guess, 3 weeks, mostly cruciferous kind of veggies, but I had some other stuff too. So I did lose some tomatoes, even though I was covering stuff at night. But yeah, that's enough probably talk about the gardens. I'm sure I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
bore
All
everyone
right.
with the
Well, there we
gardens.
go. So
Yeah,
Shane,
I'd be doing lots of that kind of stuff for sure. Traveling all over the place. I like to see new places, things like that.
all right. So Shane Johnston is a mountain biking gardener. That's what we know about Shane.
Never been described that way before, but okay.
That could be on your business card. Remember business cards? All
I
right.
have I have a business card right here. I'll tell you about it later. The
Okay,
digital
cool.
business card, though. It's the new business card.
The QR code. All right, so let's hop into business. So tell us, that's a great segue. So tell us a little bit about your business and what problem you solve, who do you serve, and what sets you apart from the competition.
Yeah, lots of questions there. Well, my company's name is Boulder Future Marketing, and I do mostly media buying, but I guess I'm the marketing whisperer, you'd call it.
Okay, so not everybody knows what media buying is. What does that mean?
Well, you pay some other platform to be able to put your stuff on their platform. So that could be, something like, well, I usually start with Google Ads, Google search, because there's intent. So somebody's searching for your service. We're going to show up with an ad and hopefully they're going to click on it and come and check out your stuff and maybe sign up, learn a little bit more from you, and maybe even buy something from you. And Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. You can advertise on any platform that has eyeballs, basically. So I buy media on those platforms to send targeted visitors to the companies that I serve.
Okay, and so what problem does that solve?
It gets them customers. Hopefully, if we've done a good job of, I'm sending a person who has intent because they've shown some level of interest. Different platforms have different ways of doing that, but I'm trying to send them somewhat targeted, interested parties that have shown through past behaviors, because your digital footprint is being tracked typically. And so I'm sending those kind of people over to your website, to your landing page, to your social media platforms, to your videos, whatever the case might be. And then I encourage my clients and I teach and guide and advise them how to create content that's going to attract people that would be most likely to want to do business with them. And then that attracts them in a way that serves them first before they become a customer.
Okay, is there one particular niche that you work with, or are you cross industry? How does that work?
I used to do a lot of online product launches for coaches, authors, and people who have, an online digital platform. But I kind of got burnt out doing that. I did that for several years and launched a lot of multi-million-dollar products. And but I wasn't really enjoying it that much. So I've gone back to where my heart is, which is local business owners, a lot of bricks and mortar kind of business owners too, which is where I made my start 2 decades ago. I had a local bricks and mortar retail business, and it started out as a franchise. But 3 months into it, we found out my franchise guy was committing fraud, and so he got charged, and he was gone, and I had to figure out how to do marketing and advertising on my own. And so yeah, I have empathy and compassion for the entrepreneurial struggle for the local small business owner that's trying to do everything basically and do their own marketing and advertising too. So I've gone back to doing that. I have a number of clients that are doing that, and believe it or not, I have a podcast client too.
Oh, cool.
A guy who teaches people how to launch their podcast, and he has an operational service to look after them after the fact too.
All right.
So,
And so what sets you apart from other media buyers?
I think that the main thing is that because I spent a lot of time building businesses myself and having my own, bricks and mortar business where, you know, my operational overhead sometimes was, 6-digit figures per month. So I had to really figure out how to advertise. And my location was in a destination location. I wasn't in like a premier, retail kind of location where you're getting walkthrough kind of traffic. So I really had to figure out that, advertising component. And sorry, what was the original question?
What sets you apart from the competition?
Oh yeah. So because of that, I just have this ability to, I guess, guide and teach people how to find what it is that's going to give them preeminence, which is, serving your customer and giving them something they need to help them achieve their desired goal before you're asking for, them to become a customer or before you're asking for money in exchange. And so that level of empathy and compassion, I feel, is built into everything that I do. And I learned that long time ago when I still worked in the corporate world. Actually, I was given a book by a senior vice president called From Good to Great by Jim Collins. I don't know if you've read that one.
I have, yeah.
It's an oldie but a goodie. And there's lots of learnings in that book, but I think one of the biggest things that I took away from it was a thing called the hedgehog concept. And the hedgehog concept is basically, what are you going to dig in on? What's the number one thing that you're going to dig in on with your business, or even if you're working for a company? What is it that you're going to be known as? What are you going to become good at that helps other people? And for me, that was using that empathy and compassion as a guiding light, so to speak, and creating a really cool customer experience and giving them something that they wouldn't get anywhere else. So what does that mean? Well, I'll give you an example. The first business that I owned, the bricks and mortar one, was a pool and hot tub and pool tables. It was home recreational kind of stuff. I had a 6,000 square foot store with all of these fun things in it. And one thing that I learned quickly about that industry was that the pool dealers, they loved to build pools, but they really didn't give good aftermarket service. Once they built your pool and took the money, bye-bye, they're gone. So they, something goes wrong with your pool or hot tub, they just didn't give, I heard stories of people trying to call for service and just never getting an answer. So I built my store with that preeminent factor. And I understood, just because I'm empathetic, that's a struggle. And if I could, if I can zag while everyone else is zigging, or whatever that saying is, then I could kind of flip that paradigm on its head. And I wanted to make sure that I gave really good service. So, without really knowing what to do or really being able to afford it, I hired a service manager and trained them on how to fix all this stuff. And I put up a proper service area in my store. So you could walk in the store and there was a big sign with this is the service desk, and my service manager was there, and I had 3 guys that worked for him. And you could call us anytime, day or night, and those guys would answer and they'd schedule. And within 20, we had this thing where our hedgehog concept was we were going to answer every call right away, even if they leave a message, that within 24 hours, we're going to be at least able to have a conversation with them to figure out what's wrong and help them out. And we got a real reputation for looking after people after the fact. And we didn't make that much money on it. That wasn't the real moneymaker. But because of that, I sold a lot of products because people knew we would look after them after the fact. So that's really kind of that whole concept of the hedgehog concept is I brought it right through to my online marketing world too. And so it's gotten to the point now where people, and this is where the relationship component of business is personal, I think really comes into play. And that is that my customers become almost friends, or a lot of times they do become friends. Like I had a customer call me on the weekend. This was our long weekend. Customer calls me. I'm like, oh no, what's going on? And I'm checking my ads to make sure everything's going. I'm thinking something's gone wrong. No, he was just calling me because he was at his dad's place, and his dad had a hot tub in the new home that he just bought, and he wanted to know how to get it running and do the water balance. I'm like, okay, I know how to do that. Like they become friends. They're calling me on the weekend. Hey, no, I want to talk about work. I want to talk about this. So I think that's, like we said at the beginning of the session, the relationship component and the personal aspect, to me, that's everything. We're all people here trying to eke out a living on this beautiful earth. So why not help each other?
Very cool. All right. I've got a list of questions here. You actually answered the next one, so we can just skip to, especially as a media buyer, how much time do you spend learning to understand your audience before launching a marketing campaign?
Yeah, this is a big thing, and a lot of marketing kind of people, like marketers, we kind of have this tendency to ruin everything, right? And I feel like a lot of the marketing and advertising, pure marketing organizations, kind of tend to do this a little too clinically. Like they will say, okay, what is your avatar kind of thing? Oh, it's a 45-year-old male. He wears khaki pants and a golf shirt, and he's, invested so much money in the stock markets. Well, that's pretty dry and boring, right? So again, a long time ago, when I still worked in the corporate world, I didn't call it this at the time, but I ended up developing a little process called I call the empathy exercise.
Really?
And
awesome.
like literally, and the empathy exercise. And I really I started it in the corporate world, but I really honed it when I had that pool and hot tub company. And I realized that most pool and hot tub organizations weren't really looking after people. And that's like pre-sales, during the sale, and post-sale. It was a horrid industry. I think it's gotten a lot better now, but at the time, this is a couple decades ago, it just wasn't good. And so I decided I was going to figure out something that I could do with my marketing and advertising to change that, that empathy factor. And I didn't start it with that intention, but I just wanted to kind of figure out, what do I do to help these people and do it in a way that I can grow at the same time. And so I just said, okay, I got to feel what these guys are feeling. And I just went out shopping. I spent 2 or 3 days and I just drove around to every dealer I could find in the whole place. And I started taking notes. And I realized it was probably north of 90% of these dealers, they would hire, sales reps, and the sales rep would come out with slicked hair and in a suit. Why are you wearing a suit? You're selling a hot tub and a pool. You don't need to wear a suit. And they stunk of cheap cologne and like the used car salesman kind of scenario. And a lot of times I would walk out of their store feeling like I needed to take a shower because it was dirty, the tricks that they would try and pull. And so like one example was they would say, if you buy from us this weekend, then you don't have to pay the tax, which is actually that's illegal. You can't even do that. You have to pay the sales tax here in Canada, unfortunately, but they would say, hey, I'll save you some money. And then once they found out which model you were interested in, they go, okay, hang on a second. Let me just go into the back and check if we've got any inventory stock of that. And the guy would take off for 10 minutes and come back. The old adage, oh yeah, I talked to my manager. We have only one left. So I'll tell you what, if you want to put a $500 deposit on it, I will put your name on it and reserve it for you until you can talk to your wife and organize your finances. And then they would never give the $500 back. And so as I started going around and visiting and basically secret shopping is basically what it was, I made a whole list of the nasty tricks that they would pull to trick you into purchasing these things. And then I said, okay, well, how can I, so I started talking to people that would come into my store about these nasty tricks, so that they would know, because they're not just when you're shopping for a big ticket item, it's $10,000 to $20,000 for a nice hot tub. I know they're not going to just shop me. They're going to look around. So I'd start telling them, like, look out for this. These are the signs that they're probably not going to look after you and you're going to get ripped off. And that eventually led to me writing a little ebook. Okay, this is back in like the early 2000s. So ebooks weren't really a thing back then. And so I wrote this little ebook and I titled it The 7 Nasty Tricks That Pool Dealers Will Try and Use to Trick You into Buying, and They'll Rip You Off. And I had a website at the time, but it's, a static brochure kind of website. So I went to my web developer and I said, is there any way you can put a form on here that people can sign up and download this thing? And he's like, geez, I think I can do that. Let me check into it for you. And so like a week goes by, I call him up. Did you figure this out yet? He goes, yeah, I figured it out, but it's pretty complex. I go, okay, well, I need to get this done. So how much would you charge me? And he goes, $5,000. So you can imagine what, like $5,000, what? That's crazy, like $5,000 to put, basically now I know that's an opt-in form. Well, I can make one in like 2 minutes now. But back then I didn't know about that kind of stuff. So what I ended up doing was, and I wasn't doing any online advertising. This is the early 2000s. So I put an ad in the paper like I usually did, which an ad in the paper for a decent size would cost me between $1,500 and $2,000. $3,000 if I wanted a full page ad. And that's 20 some odd years ago. So I put an ad in the paper and said, it was basically that same headline. And I said, if you want to get this book, email me. And I made a special email with my website domain on it, but it was a special email. So I knew only those emails would go to that inbox. And I said, just send me an email and I'll reply back. And so I was literally manually replying back, putting an attachment with this PDF in place. And like I would spend the first couple of hours of every day just replying to all these people. I didn't realize there was such this high demand for people that wanted this thing. And then they were literally printing it out. And I would have people come into my store and go, where's Shane? And they were like putting their arm around me going, buddy, like this is the best thing ever. And I can see they've got this crumpled up notes with like highlighted sections and notes written on it. And I got a lot of sales out of it because, I help people. Well, why, long story short, why did that happen? Because I figured out who my buyer was. And I figured out what problems were they experiencing in the buying process, because I knew the buying cycle was a long one. But what was happening was they'd go through this long buying cycle and then the purchase would stagnate. They wouldn't even purchase because they became so confused. So I said, how can I help them make a wise buying decision where they feel like they're in good hands? So long story short, yeah, it's very important to, figure out who the people are that you serve and what experiences are they going through just in going through the buying process. Sometimes it can be a struggle and it's frustrating. So I always start there. And so now bring that to the online world. So even if it's a physical bricks and mortar kind of business, they still have online presence. And so I do the same thing there. And I will often go and if I can, I'll make purchases myself. I'll go through the buying process and check out the competition and I'll outline a list of what do I like about the experience and what don't I like. And I make sure that we model the things that I did like and take away the things that I didn't like when we create the marketing and advertising for my clients.
Huh. I think we've all heard of funnel hacking before. And so you're kind of doing that, but at a much, much higher level.
Yeah, I mean, it goes a lot deeper than that because it's that empathy thing, right? It's understanding exactly how your prospective customer is feeling, like literally how they're feeling. Because I would go through the process, and it's like, okay, now I understand. Now I can feel. It's more than just looking at something and going, okay, well, we'll just model this and we'll hack this and pull it over here. I don't believe in that kind of stuff. I think that funnel hacking modeling process is just doing our industry a disservice, and it's creating a bad reputation for good marketers too, right? Because you're stealing stuff and you don't even know really if that's the stuff that's working. You're just stealing stuff and putting it up quick so you can say you're a professional agency. Well, that's not a professional agency.
Yeah, I think what you're doing is more like funnel exploring than funnel hacking. And like I say, instead of just going through and saying, oh, this guy started with a free and then a $7, then a 27 and a 97, I'm just going to hack his process. You're going through the process, seeing what you like, what you don't like, what feels authentic, what feels sleazy, and you're fixing all the problems along the way so that the buyer has a better experience.
Yeah, and really I'm doing it because I want to get a really good sense of how that person is feeling so that I can guide and advise my customer, okay, here's the kind of content you should create that helps your prospect before you get the sale. So it's way beyond funnel hacking because it's doing it with that preeminence factor. It's like, how do you help serve them first? Like, don't be looking for the thing that you want first. Be looking for what it is that they're experiencing, and how can you help them maybe get a few steps towards their desired goal before you ask for their credit card.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's see. Can you tell us how your personal values influence the way you do business?
Yeah, I've literally actually created funny you say that, because I was just doing something. I use a lot of AI tools now, not as a crutch, but more as a way to expedite what I do. So I've taken a lot of my processes and built them as models into the AI tools. And one AI tool that I use is called Jasper.ai. And I really like it's a more expensive model. I know everyone's using ChatGPT, and I do use ChatGPT too. I have a paid version of it as well, with a number of different plugins that I use for specific things. But I like Jasper because I can create longer form content with it, and they have this really cool functionality called brand voice. And what that allows you to do is you can upload documents, and or you can just cut and paste up to, I think, 1,500 characters. So what's that, like 300 or 400 words? You can upload that into Jasper, and then when you create new content or create new stuff, you can use your brand voice plugged into it. So the idea there is most AI tools, they're modeling it based on the internet, because it scanned the internet up to 2021, although that's going to be more advanced soon. With GPT-4 coming out and whatnot. But so I've literally taken my documentation, which I had created a long time ago, for my mission and what I stand for and my values and all my personal values and identity and the things that I do in my personal life. I've woven that into my business as well. So I've plugged that into Jasper so that anytime I write, Jasper is not only using what it knows about the internet, but it's learning what I have said is personal to me. And it's using that as a second brain. And so I'm just looking at I had my document up because I was uploading it. My number one thing that I stand for in terms of values is empathy and compassion. It's the number one thing on my business mission here too. Number one right there. It says empathy and compassion. And this was created like 10 years ago. Responsible and ethical business practices. So you can see where this is going, right? Like, I don't believe in this funnel hacking world kind of stuff. Like, that's robbing from people. It's taking their money and not being responsible about it. Another one is to surprise and delight clients and members. Well, I like to do that in my personal life too. People come over here and I cook for them. I'm pulling stuff out of my garden, making stuff fresh. I want people to have that experience, right? So I want to surprise and delight people. I do that in my own life, and I pull that into my business life too. A big increased customer value, to me, that's a strong thing. Exponential strategic growth, increasing our collective game to a whole new level. So to me, it's not about them getting more business or me getting more business. It's how do we raise both of ourselves up, not just in terms of monetarily, but just all that other stuff that goes with it. Like, are we here to just make money, or are we here to have fun in life too? And to build relationships and, feel good when we wake up in the morning. To me, that's what it's all about. So building those assets that help us all grow together, the old cliche that all boats rise with the tide. To me, that's everything. As a matter of fact, built into my mission here, I'll tell you what it is, because I feel really strongly about, I do a lot of like funnel hacking stuff. By the way, on the personal side, I have done 1,587 straight days of doing Wim Hof method.
Oh, wow.
Like cold shower, cold dunk routine, and a little bit of meditation and some breathing. I've done 1,587 days straight of doing that. So I love these little funnel hacking things, but I like to do it in a way that's not like, the entrepreneurial grind kind of thing, like work your 18 hours a day kind of lifestyle. I like to do biohacking that allows you to have fun and to lighten up the load and feel like things are just coming naturally, and you don't have to work as many hours when you're feeling good and you are more creative. And when you're more creative, you're more productive. When you're more productive, you don't have to work so many hours. And to me, this whole concept of working 8 hours a day, or in the entrepreneurial world, the grinder world, working even more, to me, that's not life. So I love this book that I read quite a few years ago called The Rise of Superman by Stephen Kotler. Have you ever read that one?
I have not read that one.
Oh, you got to read it. So in it, so he's a flow hacker too, but he does it he came from the adventure sports world. Like he was a writer for, I don't know, Outside Magazine or something. So he spent a lot of time figuring out how athletes do this. But then he worked out that there's a routine that they go through that can be used in any aspect of your life. And so he said one of the big components of it, there's several, but one of the big components, which I love, is that he dedicated a whole chapter to it called the We of Flow, where he discusses the power of your social group to build momentum together. And in it, there's this excerpt that truly, I think, identifies, I think, what you and I both stand for. And I'm going to read it to you. It says, more acceleration comes from the social support that the solidarity of a group provides. Finding flow isn't easy, and finding it repeatedly is tougher still. The struggle phase can drag endlessly on, and the urge to give up grows stronger as the last memory of flow grows dimmer and dimmer. But the collective momentum fights hard against individual inertia, and when one member is in struggle, probably another one is in flow, and using that state to do something amazing, and amazing energizes. I'm getting like goosebumps just reading it. Like I can feel that amazing energy. So whether it's the cooperative excitement or the competitive jealousy, one person's triumph becomes another's motivation. And that creates a flywheel effect that allows the group itself to gain momentum. And to me, that's life right there.
Huh. That's pretty cool. But how would you apply that in your business world?
Well, for me, I have my little coaching group. So I have other entrepreneurs that I help do this. And I have a kind of a little side product that I use to help people that are in that struggle phase. Let's face it, as entrepreneurs, you're not always on top of your game, right? You're not always 100%.
Right.
So what do you do during the struggle phase to help get through that? And so I have this little coaching product that's called the Perfect Day Soul Print. And so I teach entrepreneurs how to figure out what is their perfect day. What's your soul print? What speaks to you? What makes you want to wake up every day and do what you do, but still have enough energy that at the end of the day, you can do the fun things that you want to do in life too. So you're balancing. It's that old, work lifestyle balance kind of aspect. So I teach people how to do that. And I have little kind of like anecdotal flow hacking or biohacking kind of things to get yourself back into a creative momentum and push past that struggle phase, which we all hit, without feeling like you're grinding. Like, I don't believe just because you're in that struggle phase doesn't mean you get up every day and work your 18 hours and grind through it. Grinding through it isn't going to get you there, because the answers don't come from an analytical process up here. They come from your heart. And so the only way to get down into the real answers that reside in your heart, in your soul print, is to relax and, enjoy. And the answer is going to come to you. Like, how many times have you been struggling with something and let's create the pros and cons list and analyze all the data and let's make a decision and we'll weight each one. And you can't get there through analyzing like that. I used to be that person. I was always very analytical. And I run ads. So you do have to have some analytical detail. But the true answers in life, the answers to the biggest questions don't come from the analysis in your brain. They come from your heart. And the only way to do that is slow things down. Sometimes you got to go slow to go fast.
All right. This might, I don't know if you have the answer, if you have already answered this question by what you just said, but like, just given everything we've discussed today, what's one piece of advice or key takeaway that you'd like to leave our listeners with? Like, what's one thing they can start implementing today that's actually going to move the needle?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question, because I'll take probably one of there's so many things that I teach in the Soul Print, the Perfect Day Soul Print coaching course. But one of the big key things is, and this is something that I didn't come up with myself, I learned from a guy named James Clear who wrote the book Atomic Habits. And I'm a little ADHD, and I sometimes, go down this path, and I got like 10 things. And then it's like, okay, wait a minute, slow down, go slow to go fast. And I always remember this one thing that he said is, and that is, the best way to achieve your goal is not to set the goal itself. I mean, yeah, set the goal, but the best way to achieve it, the second best way to achieve it is to establish a routine, just a simple routine every day. And so he said, if you're having trouble doing that in whatever it is you're trying to achieve, maybe like big goalish, okay, so think smaller. He said, so if you just think small, if you just do 1% more each day, by the end of the year, and that's just one little thing each day. So you might be having an off day and you get up and go, screw it, I don't feel like doing anything. Just do one little thing, because 1% better each day, if you do the math on it, the exponential math, it literally works out to 37 and a half times better by the end of the year. All you got to do is 1%. Don't try to tackle 10 things. I don't believe in making a task list of to-do items each day. I wake up each day and I have one thing that I know I want to accomplish. If I get into flow and I feel good, maybe I'll do some more, but there's one thing that I want to accomplish each day. And that will get me 37 and a half times better by the end of the day. And so what he said was, if you want to actually make that even better, then instead of establishing just the daily routine, the daily process that you're doing, think about who the person is that you want to become. So that's identity-based stuff. So instead of saying, like, if you want to lose some weight, instead of making a goal, I'm going to lose 30 pounds by, X date, instead of doing that, just say, I'm going to wake up every day and I'm going to do 10 minutes of yoga. Small daily routine, 1% better each day. And even on the days where you don't feel like doing that, so maybe you don't feel like doing yoga today. So just say, make it smaller still. Say, I'm going to just put on my workout clothes. I'm going to put on my shorts and I'm going to go downstairs. Well, I got my workout clothes on, so I might as well just do a little bit of yoga. I won't do a lot of yoga. I'll just do 2 moves. And so then one little thing after another gets you, it's like you're connecting different routines, different habits, and you build a system of these and they link together. And so what happens is your brain has this weird way of linking. And so when you do that for, I think it's 66 days to automaticity, something I learned from Robin Sharma, a client that I had, he said it takes 66 days on average for a person where a habit, where something that you're doing systematically and you're making yourself do it kind of thing, it becomes a habit. And so then after you've done it for at least 66 days, it's like you just do it. It's automatic. 66 days to automaticity. And so if you just do a little thing and then start linking the little things, they become big. So now instead of trying to race and, do the entrepreneurial hammer everything, I try to just get up and do one little thing. And then those little things start to link together. And before you know it, those little things become something big. It's like the race between the hare and the turtle kind of thing.
Okay. So to summarize that, like instead of trying to go from 0 to 100 tomorrow, like just small steps sort of thing.
Yeah. You burn yourself out trying to go to 100 every day. You just do. Even people like Gary Vee, who used to preach that, he's starting to change. If you see some of his content that he's putting out, he's getting a little older. He's probably getting burnt out himself, right? So he's starting to say, hey, you don't always have to grind.
Oh, I have not heard him say that. I'm not a big Gary Vee follower, but
I'm not really either, because he's sort of my antithesis, right?
Yeah, me too.
I'm anti-grinder.
Yeah.
I never used to be, though. I was always a grinder too. And then I realized it makes you sick. It makes you tired. It makes you grumpy. It makes you all the things you don't want to be.
Right. Very cool. Well, thanks, Shane. If people wanted to get in touch with you for any way, do you have anything you can offer them, or?
If you want to I do a free 20-minute marketing consult. So typically within 20 minutes, I can kind of I have this capability, I guess, of trying to look at what you do as a business and give you a flavor of how can you turn that around? How can you turn that upside down and do some of these things that I've been talking about and making it a good experience for you and the people you're trying to attract. So if you want to do that, just go to Shane.marketing. And you can sign up for one of my free 20-minute marketing assessments.
Oh, cool.
I'll take a look at what you're doing in your marketing and see if we can turn it around.
This is my first podcast, so I don't know how it exactly works, but I think somewhere there's going to be a description of this podcast, and I'll put that link in the description.
Sounds cool. By the way, I was going to tell you about these digital business cards. So I think probably a lot of people have heard about them. Not that many are using them, I find, but this is one of the things that I do to surprise and delight my customers. So after, I typically say, if I'm going to do media buying for you, you have to sign up for at least 90 days, because it takes 90 days to dial everything in and try and get the messaging right. The first 30 days is just, we're testing stuff to see what works. And so if you stick through, and this is all based on one of my values, which is to surprise and delight, but it's also to try and encourage you to stick through past the 3-month period too. And HubSpot did a survey, I think back in 2020 or 21, and they said the average the average customer of a marketing agency only stays for 3.5 months, and then they're gone. Well, that's not a very good stick rate, is it?
No.
3.5 months, you're just getting going. And so I want to increase that. So my average is 7 to 8 months. So still like to get to a year, but anyway, so to surprise and delight them, I give everyone a free digital business card. So all you do is you tap that on your phone and it pops up with this little thing. I don't know if viewers are going to be able to see this, but you'll see it. You can see it's got my digital business card on there.
Oh,
and
cool.
You can tap to call or save my contact information. So I give all my customers one of those after they've been with me for 3 months.
Oh, that's good.
Unadvertised bonus.
Yeah,
so they get it in a little card saying thank you, and they don't expect it. They don't know it's coming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, I just have one more question for you regarding, you've read my book, Empathic Marketing.
I sure have.
And do you think that's a book most business owners, entrepreneurs should read?
No question. I mean, to get into some of the harder core marketing kind of aspects that you teach a really good system in there. I think I said that in my review to you. That a lot of the stuff you teach in there are things that we would, services that we perform for as an agency for a customer. I don't know if you're still doing that work, but I do. But if they're not hiring somebody to do it, or even if they are hiring somebody to do it, you should really read this book so they understand the process that we're going through. It's pretty in depth, and it takes into consideration that personal, emotional, empathy-driven stuff. But you've built a system around that lends itself to the marketing and how you attract people in the marketing world as well. So I think whether you're creating your own marketing or you're hiring somebody to do it for you, definitely read Mike's book. No question.
Yeah. When I used to, for like, if you're hiring somebody else, when I used to teach rappelling, so, going down the side of a cliff face on a rope, I would teach people how to do that. I would tie everything up and then they would just come over and get ready to go off the edge. I'm like, don't you want to check my knots? Like, stuff that is going, it's like, oh, well, you're the expert. I'm like, we all make mistakes, right? Yeah. And so I always encourage, and so I always show, like I was there to teach them how to rappel, not how to set up a rappel. But I'm like, your life is in my hands right now, right? And your marketing dollars might be in my hands. So it's a good idea to have an understanding of the foundation of marketing, and like in rappelling, like just make sure that knot looks weird. Are you sure that's right? Just it's good to have an understanding before you trust.
I mean, the best customers are the ones who come to you through learning some of the stuff that you're teaching it, right? Like I have a presentation that I did for my Soulprint growth entrepreneurs, and just about content marketing. So I truly believe that preeminence thing, which I learned from Jay Abraham, by the way. Learn how to help people and give them something first. Well, so I have this presentation that I give to prospective new customers, and before I allow them to hire me, before I allow them to give me a single cent, even if they're saying, okay, just send me the bill and I'll pay it, I want you to watch this. It's a 50-minute presentation, and because the best customers are the ones who get it, who understand, and who not just understand, but who have the same kind of values as you do. And so what you have in your book, you're teaching that kind of stuff, right? So if you're showing them that and they like it and they want to do that, they become the best customers, and they stick around the longest too.
Right.
I find the ones where I get as a referral and they come in and all they thinking about is, like, and here's a warning flag to anyone who's thinking about this on both sides of the equation. But if somebody comes to me and says, yeah, I've hired 6 other agencies, how are you going to change things? No, we're not a good match. If you've hired 6 other agencies and you haven't had any luck, I think you better look at the common denominator.
Right. Yeah.
Because it's not, it's not me, it's you kind of thing.
Well, awesome. Well, thanks again, Shane. It was great. Thank you for popping my cherry on this first podcast of Because Business is Personal. I think you spoke very well to that end. And it was great having you on.
Yeah, hopefully that's going to help some of your audience. And I wish you much luck with your new podcast.
All right. Thanks, Shane. Talk soon.
All right, man. Talk to you soon.
And that is a wrap for this episode of Because Business is Personal. Thanks for joining us. And don't forget to take advantage of my 2 special offers. First, you can get a free copy of my best-selling book, Empathic Marketing. You just pay for the shipping. Or you can get a 50% discount on my gap analysis session with the coupon code podcast. Just head over to www.becausebusinessispersonal.com or check the show notes for details. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to follow, subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with others who might benefit. Your support means the world to us, so stay tuned for our next episode where we'll continue to delve into the intersection of empathy and marketing strategy. Remember, because business is indeed personal, every connection counts. Until next time, see you then.